The first thing I notice when I wake up is the quiet. The kind of quiet that makes your own heartbeat feel loud in your chest. The morning sunlight sneaks through the curtains, scattering soft patterns across the floor, and the faint, sweet scent of fresh flowers from the florist drifts down the hallway. I take a deep breath, trying to anchor myself, but there's a flutter of nerves, like butterflies, but sharper, more insistent. I've imagined this day for years, every detail etched in my mind, every laugh and tear rehearsed 1,000 times. That I move toward the mirror and pause, studying my reflection. I adjust my tie, or maybe it's the veil I'm brushing over my shoulder, and for a second I just look at myself, asking silently, "Are you ready for this?" The question hangs in the air like a weight I didn't expect. My phone buzzes on the nightstand, buzzing over the calm of the room with the first wave of well wishes from friends. I pick it up, scroll through messages that all say the same thing. "You're going to be amazing." And I want to believe them. I do. But it feels distant, almost dreamlike, as if I'm watching someone else live this morning. That I step toward the door, sunlight catching my face in a way that makes every imperfection obvious, every shadow sharp. The hallway smells faintly of roses and lilies, and it's comforting and alien all at once. I pause at the threshold and close my eyes for a moment, letting the quiet sink in. This is supposed to be a day about love, about family, about celebration. And yet, there's this twinge of doubt I can't quite shake, a subtle awareness that life rarely fits neatly into the plans we imagine. Still, I force a small smile and step into the day. The world outside the bedroom feels both ordinary and monumental. The air has that soft, early morning crispness that smells faintly of dew and possibility. I take another breath and remind myself, today is ours. It's supposed to be beautiful. And for a moment, just a fleeting heartbeat, it feels like it might be. The car pulls up to the venue, and suddenly the quiet from the morning is replaced by a soft hum of anticipation. Guests are arriving in clusters, their laughter and greetings weaving through the air like a gentle tide. I step out and take in the scene. The grand archway decorated with delicate flowers, ribbons fluttering in the light breeze, the faint scent of fresh grass mixed with the lingering floral arrangements. Everything looks perfect. Too perfect. Almost staged, like a picture I've memorized from 100 wedding magazines. I tell myself to breathe, to soak it in, but there's a flutter of something else, a small knot of tension in my chest I can't quite explain. As I walk up the stone path, I notice my parents standing near a group of relatives, speaking quietly but with frequent glances in my direction. They're smiling, nodding, gesturing, yet there's a subtle stiffness in their posture, the kind that whispers of conversations I can't hear. I force a smile and wave, catching snippets of their words, trying to convince myself it's nothing, but the knot tightens. Why does it feel like they're waiting for something? I wonder. I tell myself weddings are chaotic, that nerves make everyone twitchy, but the unease won't fully leave. That I move toward the entrance and pause to adjust my outfit, smoothing folds, brushing stray hairs, trying to look composed while my stomach does little somersaults. Guests pass by with congratulatory smiles and small talk, but I can barely focus, my mind flicking between excitement for the ceremony and the inexplicable tension I feel around my parents. I remind myself this day is about love, about commitment, about finally stepping into a new chapter. But a tiny voice in my head mutters that family dynamics have a way of showing up when least expected. Despite it all, there's beauty in the chaos. The soft clinking of glasses being set, the gentle rustle of dresses, the distant sound of a violin tuning somewhere inside. I take a slow breath, letting the details settle, the warmth of the sunlight on my shoulder, the scent of roses, the faint brush of the breeze across my cheek. And for a fleeting moment, I almost forget the tension, letting myself imagine the joy waiting just beyond the doors. Everything feels like it's falling into place. The music softly playing, guests settling into their seats, laughter drifting through the air, but then it happens. My parents, standing a few steps away, casually announced to a cluster of relatives, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear, "Your brother just got a beautiful car." There's a ripple of congratulations and nods, smiles exchanged, polite clapping, and I freeze. My stomach drops, my jaw tightens, and for a brief moment, The world seems to tilt just slightly off its axis. I force a smile, a laugh that doesn't quite reach my eyes, but inside, a bitter taste spreads, sharp and unwelcome that I try to focus on the words themselves, on the simple fact of my brother's new car, but I can't. Memories start crowding in, uninvited and insistent. Childhood dinners where achievements were always measured against his, every accomplishment of mine quietly minimized. The time I won a small art contest, and my parents brushed it off because he had gotten first place in a science fair. The quiet sting of comparison, the feeling that nothing I did was enough, all come rushing back in one sharp, unrelenting wave that I glance around the room, seeing the guests' faces, hearing the polite murmurs, and the contrast between their cheer. And my internal turmoil feels almost surreal. I remind myself to breathe, to focus on my partner, the vows, the day itself. But it's impossible to completely ignore the pang of resentment, the subtle question burning in my mind. Why does this matter more than me today? I take a small step away, trying to anchor myself, letting the floral scent and soft music around me calm the storm in my chest. I catch a brief reflection in a nearby mirror, the forced smile, the eyes that betray the swirl of hurt and disbelief. I replay the words again in my head, wondering if they even realize the weight they carry, the echo of old comparisons reverberating through years of careful restraint. I want to shake it off, to let the day's joy win, but the sting lingers, a quiet, nagging ache beneath the surface of what's supposed to be perfect. And yet, even in that moment, there's a strange clarity. I realize how deeply these comparisons have shaped me, how I've let them linger unspoken for far too long. Today, today, I'll hold on to my own happiness. The first ripple of defiance begins to form, subtle but persistent, like the first faint notes of a song that will grow louder. The memory hits like a sudden gust of wind, unbidden and sharp. I'm back at the dinner table, a younger version of myself sitting quietly, fork frozen halfway to my mouth. My parents are praising my brother again, his grades, his trophies, the way he handles things so responsibly. I remember the heat rising in my chest, the familiar twinge of frustration mixed with that tiny, shameful voice whispering, "Why can't I ever be enough?" I try to say something, a small accomplishment I'm proud of, and it slides off their attention. Like water over glass. That look on my brother's face, innocent, unaware, oblivious, makes it sting even more. The flashback lingers in fragments. I see my mother frowning gently, shaking her head as if to correct my eagerness, my father's subtle sigh of disappointment. I remember the quiet humiliation of knowing that no matter how hard I tried, the spotlight always fell somewhere else. Birthdays, school events, family achievements, nothing seemed to belong to me. And now, decades later, standing at my wedding, that same familiar ache resurfaces, triggered by a single, careless sentence. About a car that I shake my head slightly, trying to return to the present, but the emotions are sticky, clinging like morning dew. I realize how much those years of comparison shaped me, how I learned to smile, nod, and swallow my pride, to perform happiness for the sake of others while quietly nursing a growing reservoir of quiet resentment. The past isn't distant, it's stitched into the very way I move, the way I react, the way I brace for moments like this. And yet, amid the sting, there's something else, a spark of clarity. I see now that this day, my wedding day, doesn't have to be defined by those old patterns. The past is a shadow, yes, but shadows can't touch the warmth of the sunlight falling across the aisle. I take a slow, steadying breath, the floral scent of the venue mingling with the memory of home, and I silently make a promise to myself. I won't let it steal my joy today. The tension is still there, but it's paired now with a quiet resolve, a readiness to claim this day as my own that I force myself to refocus, to look beyond the echoes of the past and the jab from earlier. My partner stands nearby, radiant, hands clasped together in that nervous but happy way that always makes my chest tighten. I try to let that be my anchor, the reminder of why I'm here, why this day exists beyond the noise of comparisons and old family wounds. I laugh at a joke they make, sip water to steady the fluttering in my stomach, but inside, the tension hums like a low, persistent note I can't quite ignore. Around me, The guests carry on with smiles and chatter, oblivious to the storm swirling. Just beneath the surface of my carefully maintained calm, I feel the old instincts kick in, the learned habit of swallowing pride, of performing composure. I replay my inner monologue, reminding myself, this is about love. This is about commitment. Not them, not the car, not the comparisons. Yet, every time my eyes flick toward my parents, I feel that familiar squeeze of frustration, the quiet question, why does it always have to be about someone else? I notice small details around me, letting them ground me. The gentle shimmer of sunlight bouncing off glassware, the soft rustle of a dress as a guest passes by, the faint floral scent drifting through the hall. These small moments act as lifelines, tethering me to the present. I focus on my partner's smile, their hand brushing against mine, and let a tiny spark of joy slip through the tension. For a heartbeat, it feels almost manageable. Still, there's an undercurrent I can't shake. The memories, the comparisons, the subtle sting of my parents' words, it all lingers like a shadow at the edge of the celebration. I remind myself, again, firmly this time, I cannot let this steal today from me. Not now. Not ever. I straighten my posture, smooth my outfit one more time, and make a quiet promise to myself. Today, I will celebrate love. Today, I will claim my happiness, even if it means feeling every pang of frustration along the way. The moment comes. I step forward, and the chaos of the morning fades into a soft, almost sacred hush. The music swells, gentle and lilting, and for the first time in hours, my heart feels steady. My partner is there, waiting, every little detail of their presence vivid, the curve of their smile, the way their hands tremble ever so slightly, the quiet strength in their gaze. I take a deep breath, letting the warmth of the sunlight wash over us, and for a fleeting moment, the tension from earlier seems to dissolve. This is what I've been waiting for. As we exchange vows, I feel a strange mixture of vulnerability and power. Words that I've rehearsed for years tumble out naturally, carrying more than promises. They carry the weight of my past, the lessons learned from every shadowed comparison, and the hope of a future defined by love rather than judgment. I glance briefly at my parents, and although the old patterns flicker in their expressions, I feel a spark of defiance rise inside me. This day belongs to me and my partner. I can let them observe, notice, even judge, but it will not dictate my joy. Every detail around me becomes vivid in a way I hadn't expected. The shimmer of light off the rings, the soft rustle of fabric as guests lean forward, the faint floral scent lingering in the air. I feel grounded, as if each sensory note is anchoring me to the present. My inner voice whispers, this is ours. This is real. I close my eyes for a brief second, tasting the mixture of nerves and bliss, knowing that despite the shadows of the past, this moment is unassailable. And even as the ceremony progresses, a quiet awareness remains. The earlier pangs of comparison and judgment still linger at the edges of my consciousness, but they no longer hold power. Love, commitment, and the connection with my partner are brighter, stronger, undeniable. Every vow spoken is a statement, not just of promises to each other, but of reclaiming this day, this life, from the silent comparisons and the old shadows that have followed me for so long. For the first time, I feel a subtle but unwavering sense of control over my own happiness. The ceremony ends, and the reception begins, a swirl of music, laughter, and clinking glasses. At first, I try to immerse myself in it, letting the warmth of celebration wrap around me. Guests are dancing, children are laughing, servers move gracefully through the crowd, and for a moment, I allow myself to feel the joy that I've been anticipating for months. But then I hear it again. My parents, speaking just a little too loudly, casually mention my brother's new car to a group of relatives nearby. It's not a confrontation, not even a criticism, but it lands like a stone in my chest. The room narrows around me in an instant. Conversations fade into a dull hum. Laughter becomes background noise. I feel the old, familiar ache of comparison, the ghost of every time my achievements were minimized or overlooked. The anger simmers beneath my skin, hot and quiet, as my mind races through rehearsed lines I've imagined saying for years. Everything I've ever wanted to say when the comparisons stung the most. I fight the urge to speak immediately, to snap, to reclaim my worth in front of everyone, but I know. Timing matters that I glance around at the guests, all oblivious to the storm quietly brewing within me. Their joy contrasts sharply with the tension I feel, and for a second, the sting becomes almost surreal. I take a slow, grounding breath, feeling the cool weight of my drink in my hand, the warmth of the lights above, the subtle scent of roses, lingering from the ceremony. I remind myself why I'm here, why this day matters, and that my anger, while justified, doesn't have to steal the celebration. And yet, the tension fuels a quiet determination. I realize that today isn't just about enduring comparisons. It's about finally standing up, about articulating what has been left unspoken for years. I watch my partner dance, their laughter, lifting some of the heaviness, and I feel a swell of resolve. This isn't just my wedding day. It's a reclamation of my voice, my joy, and my worth. The spark that began earlier during the ceremony grows, steady now, ready to ignite when the time is right. The moment comes when I realize I can no longer let the quiet stings slide. I stand up, feeling the weight of every whispered comparison, every minimized achievement, every time I swallowed my pride to keep the peace. My heart pounds, not with fear, but with the strange thrill of finally taking control. I look at my parents, then at the gathered guests, and take a deep breath, letting the air in the hall ground me. And then, in a voice calm but firm, I say the one sentence I've rehearsed in fragments in my mind for years. It's brief, precise, and unapologetic, a line that doesn't attack, doesn't beg, but asserts a truth long buried. The room falls into a hushed pause. I watch their faces, catching every flicker of surprise, confusion, and perhaps the first trace of understanding. The years of silent frustration, the hidden resentment, all condense into this one quiet declaration, and suddenly, I feel a weight lift from my chest. For the first time, I am visible, not just as someone being compared, but as a person with my own voice and boundaries. Time slows for a heartbeat as I let the words hang in the air, feeling the subtle shift around me. The air, previously thick with polite chatter and tension, feels different now, charged, electric, but also liberating. My partner reaches for my hand, squeezing it gently, and I realize that this day, this life, isn't dictated by old shadows or comparisons. It's ours. I catch a glimpse of my parents' expressions, shock, perhaps a flicker of guilt, maybe even recognition, and I feel no anger, only a quiet empowerment that radiates through every fiber of me. The statement doesn't ruin the celebration. Instead, it transforms it. It's a quiet, powerful declaration that today belongs to me and my partner. That joy and love are not subordinate to past grievances. The tension that's haunted me for years begins to dissolve, replaced by a sense of ownership and clarity I've never experienced before. And for the first time in a long time, I allow myself to breathe fully, knowing that this is not just a victory for today. It's a reclamation of my life, my voice, and my happiness. After that moment, the atmosphere shifts subtly but unmistakably. The sharp edges of tension soften, replaced by warmth and laughter that now feel untouchable. I turn back to my partner, and suddenly, the world around us regains its color. The soft music, the twirling dancers, the chatter of guests, the clinking of glasses. Each moment that I had been too anxious to notice before now comes into sharp, vivid relief. I feel a lightness in my chest, a sense that the day is finally unfolding as it should have all along, that I let myself truly see the joy around me. The children spinning in circles, couples laughing together, the sparkle of decorations catching the light. The scent of roses and champagne mingles with laughter and conversation, grounding me in the present. For the first time in hours, I stop analyzing every glance, every whispered word, every subtle jab, and instead let the pure delight of the celebration wash over me. My inner voice whispers, "This is mine. This is ours." Even the occasional pang of awareness when I glance at my parents no longer diminishes the happiness. Their words, their judgments, even their shocked expressions, have lost the power to dictate my emotions. I feel free, freer than I have in years. I dance a little, laugh a little louder, savor the touch of my partner's hand, the warmth of their smile. The celebration is no longer something I endure. It is something I inhabit fully, joyfully, defiantly. And as I watch the guests enjoying themselves, I realized that reclaiming this joy wasn't about denying the past. It was about acknowledging it, then choosing my own happiness anyway. Every moment of laughter, every fleeting glance, every heartbeat of music is a reminder that this day, this life, belongs to me as much as anyone else. The celebration no longer feels like something imposed. It feels like something lived, something real, something I have earned. Later that night, alone in our hotel room, the energy of the day finally begins to settle. The dress, or the suit, slightly rumpled from hours of dancing, feels heavy against my skin, but it's a comforting weight, a reminder of everything that has happened. I sink onto the bed, letting my hands rest on the soft fabric, and close my eyes for a moment. The laughter, the music, the fleeting tension with my parents, all of it plays like a film in my mind. I allow myself to feel it fully. Exhaustion, relief, pride, and the quiet, steady glow of happiness that comes from finally taking my own side, that I replay the moment I spoke up, the single sentence that carried years of unspoken frustration. I feel a quiet swell of pride, not arrogance, not gloating, just recognition that I finally voiced my truth. It wasn't about confrontation. It was about reclaiming my voice, my day, my life. I can still sense the echoes of past comparisons, but they are softened now, transformed into lessons rather than chains. I've learned that my worth isn't measured by the achievements of anyone else, and tonight, I feel it deeply for the first time. The room is quiet except for the soft hum of the city outside the window, a gentle contrast to the whirlwind of the day. I glance over at my partner, peacefully asleep beside me, and a small smile forms. This day wasn't perfect, but it was real. It was ours. And that, I realize, is far more important than anything else. I let the calm wash over me, thinking about future family gatherings, the lessons I've learned, and how I won't let comparisons dictate my life again. For the first time in a long while, I feel a profound sense of closure as I lie back and let my thoughts drift. I feel both exhausted and exhilarated, the quiet satisfaction of someone who has faced the shadows of the past and chosen light anyway. The wedding day, with all its highs and lows, was a reminder that I am in control of my happiness. The night is soft and forgiving, and for the first time in years, I am able to let it carry me gently into tomorrow.